It was supposed to be the perfect marriage. James and Lisa had been together for years, deeply in love, or so James thought. But everything changed the day he stumbled upon a secret Lisa had kept from him, one that would shatter his world. James always dreamed of having a family, picturing a future filled with laughter and the pitter-patter of little feet. But when Lisa continued to avoid conversations about children, he grew suspicious. One day, a visit to the doctor for a routine checkup led to a shocking revelation. Lisa had undergone a procedure years ago, one that made it impossible for her to have children. More disturbingly, she had once been pregnant. Why had she kept this from him? Who was the father of that child? And most importantly, why had she never told him the truth? As James's mind spiraled, anger and betrayal took over, leading to an unthinkable decision. James couldn't shake the questions racing through his mind. Lisa had always been secretive about her past, but he had trusted her. Now, everything felt like a lie. He replayed every conversation, every excuse she had made when he brought up having kids. The signs had been there, but he had ignored them, believing she just needed time. That night, he confronted her. His voice was calm, but his hands trembled. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his eyes searching hers for honesty. Lisa hesitated, then looked away. "I was scared," she whispered. "I didn't know how to tell you." James's heart pounded. Scared of what? That she couldn't have children, or that he'd find out about the pregnancy she had kept from him. The thought of Lisa carrying another man's child twisted inside him. Was she hiding more? The truth was slipping through his fingers, and he needed answers. James stared at Lisa, his mind spinning with possibilities. Her silence was louder than any confession. Who was the father? He finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lisa flinched, but she didn't answer. Instead, she wrapped her arms around herself, as if trying to protect a secret she had carried for too long. The tension in the room was suffocating. James felt betrayed, not just by what she had hidden, but by the thought that she had shared something so important with someone else, something she never shared with him. "Was it before me?" he pressed, his patience slipping. "Or was it during?" Tears welled up in Lisa's eyes, but James wasn't sure if they were from guilt or fear. She took a shaky breath. "It doesn't matter," she said softly. James clenched his fists. "It matters to me." Lisa looked away, and in that moment he knew there was more to this story than she was willing to admit. James felt his pulse hammering in his ears. The more Lisa avoided his eyes, the heavier the weight in his chest grew. He had always trusted her, always believed in their love, but now, doubt crept in like a shadow he couldn't escape. He needed the truth, no more half answers, no more secrets. Lisa took a deep breath, as if preparing herself for something painful. "I was pregnant. A long time ago," she finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Before I met you." James's mind reeled. The words should have given him clarity, but instead, they opened the door to more questions. If it had happened before him, why hide it? Why lie about her ability to have children? His hands trembled as frustration boiled inside him. "And the abortion?" he asked, his voice strained. Lisa's lips parted, but she didn't speak. The silence stretched between them, thick with something unspoken. James took a step closer. "Lisa," he said, his voice sharp, demanding. She'd finally met his gaze, and in her eyes, James saw it, fear. Not just guilt, not just regret. It was deeper. A fear that told him there was something much darker beneath the surface, something he wasn't ready to hear. James's breath grew unsteady. He had expected guilt, maybe regret, but not this kind of fear. His stomach tightened. "What aren't you telling me?" His voice was sharp now, cutting through the silence like a blade. Lisa looked away, her fingers gripping the hem of her sweater. "It wasn't just my decision," she murmured. James felt the room shift. A cold realization crept over him. "What do you mean?" She hesitated before whispering, "I didn't choose the abortion, James." Her voice cracked, and suddenly, everything he thought he knew felt like a lie. His mind spun. Then woe. Lisa swallowed hard, finally looking up at him. My parents forced me. They said I was too young, that I wasn't ready. I begged them to let me keep the baby, but they wouldn't listen. Her voice trembled, the pain of the past written all over her face. Then, just as he was piecing it together, Lisa whispered something that sent a chill down his spine. "There's something else, James. Something I never told anyone." James's heart pounded as he watched Lisa struggle to find the words. The fear in her eyes wasn't just about the past. It was about something else, something bigger. "Lisa, just tell me," he urged, his voice tight. She took a shaky breath. "I never had the abortion." His mind blanked. "What?" Lisa's hands trembled as she gripped the edge of the table. "My parents thought I went through with it, but I couldn't do it. I ran away for a while, stayed with a friend. I had the baby, James." The air left his lungs. This was more than he had ever imagined. Where is the child?" Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "I gave him up. I was young, alone. I didn't have a choice." James stumbled back, his entire world spinning. All this time, he had believed she had taken away the chance of a family, when in reality, his family already existed somewhere out there, his child. But then Lisa's voice dropped to a whisper. "James, there's more. A few months ago, someone contacted me. He found me." James's chest tightened. "Who?" James felt his entire world shift. His son, his own flesh and blood, was out there, searching for answers just like he was. His anger, his pain, all the betrayal he had felt toward Lisa suddenly felt small compared to the weight of what she had carried alone for years. "Where is he now?" James asked, his voice barely steady. Lisa wiped her tears. "He wants to meet us." A strange mix of emotions flooded James: fear, hope, regret. He had spent so much time believing he had been robbed of something, when in reality, a part of him had existed all along. He looked at Lisa, realizing that despite the secrets, despite the years of silence, she had made an impossible choice. Taking a deep breath, he reached for her hand. "Then let's meet him." For the first time that night, Lisa managed a small, uncertain smile. Their past had been painful, but maybe, just maybe, their future could be different. Lisa swallowed hard. "Our son."